I gotta be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to get to this today. And I need to move my camera just a bit. There we go. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get here, but we're here. So, looks like might be 2 more parts of this, counting this one.
Saddlebags into place when the pony in magically powered armor had stepped in and made his announcement. I will be accompanying you to 10 Pony Tower. After risking yourselves to save my life, escorting you safely to your destination is the least I can do. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. Steelhooves, however, put his hoofs down. I insist. I frowned, looking about the room while I thought. The shack had 3 rooms, the bedroom, the main room, and a workroom in the back. Upon seeing the whole of it, I realized that Steelhooves had given me his own bed to sleep upon, and every pony had slept on the floors save for me. It made me feel grateful and guilty. This was not the bedroom I had spent the last several days sick in, but the main room of the shack, featuring a dinner table, rows of metal lockers, a desk with a glowing terminal, and a few scattered trophies as decorations. Above the desk was a banner, a half apple with an inlay of 3 magical sparks ringed by gears, held by a crescent-shaped wings and overlaid by a sword of war with a mouth brace hilt. It was the same emblem that adorned the flank of Steelhooves' battle armor, right where his cutie mark would be hidden beneath. The Steel Rangers.
An apple?
Sighed. You'll have to
Was
ask
the apple
others,
mentioned before?
I said, cinching my saddlebags tight. I started to strap on the holsters and slings for my weapons. I already spoke with them on this. They've claimed you're their leader. What? Why? I was really the least qualified to be in charge. Because the radio kept saying so? I added that to the list of things to talk to DJ Pony about when we arrived at 10 Pony Tower. I looked over to Velvet Remedy, but she was laying on the floor, her mind lost in the Fluttershy memory orb. In the back room, I could hear Calamity working on the weapons he procured from Stable 29's armory. Our pockets were now filled with common, low-caliber ammunition that fit none of the weapons we preferred to use.
Oh,
and Calamity was swapping parts and doing repairs on small pistols and low-powered rifles meant to use those bullets. Not that we expected to use them. Only the armory's supply of shotgun shells was likely to be of service to us. But both weapons and ammo would be valuable trade goods. A radio in the back room played DJ Pony's radio station. The sounds of a quartet of ponies singing gave way to a melody of sorrow, fear, and hope as the vocals of a pleasant-sounding buck who was 200 years dead. I want to calm the storm, but the war is in your eyes. How can I shield you from the horror and
You know my feelings on this.
When all that once held meaning is shattered, ruin bleeding, and the whispers in the darkness tell me we won't survive. Strapping my sniper rifle into place, I finally looked to Steelhooves. But my answer faded when I saw he was looking away. His gaze focused on a small picture in the corner of the room that I hadn't noticed before. The picture of an elder orange mare, her yellow mane salted with gray under her cowpony hat.
What?
He swayed slightly.
He is a ghoul! I knew it!
Told me not to speak.
Knew it!
I did move forward for a closer look, but I already knew I'd seen this mare before. Many times. Her statuette was in my saddlebags, as was the memory of her when she had been at Pinkie Pie's last party. I was certain now that the memory of Steelhooves was in that orb too. Beneath the picture was a display safe. Inside, perfectly preserved, was yet another statuette of the bucking orange pony, Be Strong, in the glory of her youth. On the top of the case was a small silk-lined box, much like the one I had found in Vinyl Scratch's safe, within which sat a single memory orb. Steelhooves only stirred again when the song ended, the last refrain echoing into nothingness. You knew her, didn't you? I asked softly, gently. Steelhooves turned towards me. How could I have? She died 2 centuries ago.
You're a ghoul!
I gazed at him, not judging, just knowing. He stood rigid against the gaze for several minutes, until I finally looked away. DJ Pony's voice erupted from the back room. Got your ears up, faithful listeners? 'Cause I've been talking and some of you ain't been listening. For years now, I've been reminding you that ghouls and zombies ain't the same thing. Ghouls are ponies who've had the misfortune of soaking up a major dose of magical radiation and not dying.
Wow!
That stuff twists
the magic of equestrian narrative.
Any other pony, and they deserve to be treated as such. Well, some of you ponies up in 10 Pony Tower didn't get the message, and when Sheriff Rottingtail kept pressing for him and his ghouls to be allowed inside, just 'cause they were sick of being hounded by Manticores and slaughtered by Bloodwings, Chief Grimstar, the head pony of 10 Pony Security, responded by hiring a bunch of mercenaries to scour the tenements along Celestia Line and wipe them all out. In an interview, when asked about how he managed to be such a supreme douchebag, Chief Grimstar had this to say. Another voice, gruff and irritated, came through the radio speakers. Fuck off, I did what was right by those I swore to protect. DJ Pony's voice returned. Just warms the heart to know there are some ponies that are steadfastly defending prejudice and bigotry, doesn't it? Thank you, Chief Grimstar, and may Celestia bless you with a kiss from the sun. The last certainly sounded like it was said through gritted teeth. I shook my head. On one hoof, I actually felt relief to hear a news report that wasn't about me. But on the other, I had experience with both ghoul ponies like Didnt and actual zombie ponies. I knew the difference. And the idea of some pony endorsing wholesale slaughter of innocent ghouls because they couldn't be bothered to discern the difference between the two of them made me hurt and tinged my vision with red.
There's something going on outside.
Nickered from within his metal helmet. Not a fan of ghoul supporters, I take it. I looked at him in confusion that bordered on several dark emotions. My disgust had clearly been evident in either my face or body language. It hadn't occurred to me that my reaction could easily be misread as directed towards DJ Pony himself. One of the wisest, kindest ponies I've met in this blasted hellscape is a ghoul pony, I spat at him. Her name is Didnt, and she's easily worth any 3 Steel Rangers put together. Not for fighting skills or fancy weapons, but for the quality of her character. I stomped a forehoof hard enough to sprain it. DJ Pony is right, and if you don't get that, then you have no place traveling with us. Steelhoof said nothing, but began to pack. I gazed at the leftover parts strewn about the workbench in Calamity's wake. Now that I had all the parts to build my poison dart gun, I should use this opportunity to put it together. Invoking my single magical ability, I started to clear away a space while simultaneously pulling the schematics out of my saddlebags. Morning, little Pip. Calamity trotted into the room. Good to see you back on your hooves. I smiled a little thinly, giving him a nod. The conversation from the night before still cast its shadows in my mind. I knew what Calamity and the Steel Ranger had talked about.
They think you're a super deaf assassin!
Woven doubts.
Seriously, the revelation is going to be beautiful.
But neither of us had said anything. Looks like we got ourselves a new traveling companion. At least for a little while.
Yeah, you're using mods, because... Okay, you could just be playing the original game, because they let you have all the companions.
I still wasn't sure what to make of the Steel Ranger. I'd seen the shadows of both good and bad in him, but it was too soon to do anything more than to hop, skip, and jump to conclusions. From Calamity's cautious tone, I could tell he was having doubts about Steelhoofs. I'll admit, we could use the firepower, he offered graciously.
It's not just firepower, he's a tank.
Having an explosive ordnance specialist like that in the saddle if we run into any more of them alicorns.
Super mutants. Don't give them
I nodded, having begun to worry about the next time we encounter those creatures.
Don't put them on the same pedestal.
On the other hoof, Calamity started to say, then stopped as if questioning whether his opinion was worth voicing. I turned to look at him and lifted a hoof in a wave for him to continue onwards. Well, let's just say that the Steel Rangers ain't exactly got a reputation as champions of the common pony. Ah, yes. Reputations. The night's conversation loomed in my head again. My eyes looked over Calamity, taking in the distance between us. I wondered if the gap was more than just physical. My memories pulled back the sheet of an almost forgotten dream of being trapped under a wall and watching my friends walk away. Hey, little Pip, you okay? Clearly, I bore my worries like a cutie mark. I snorted at the dark humor of it. Some secret spy I'd be. Calamity clopped up next to me and put a hoof gently over my back. Nah, don't you worry. Nothing said by that lot is gonna sow seeds of distrust between us. I looked up at him, wide-eyed. He smiled at me. I've seen your heart, little Pip. Y'all genuinely want to help folk, and you put your own life at risk to do so, even when some of them don't deserve it. I ain't gonna start questioning what I know about you just 'cause some pony who don't know what he's yapping about can get it all twisted up. I could feel tears gathering in my eyes.
Aww.
I tossed my forelegs around the
bonding
pony and hugged him for all I was worth. You can look into it if you want. It was the first thing Steelhoofs had said to me since my outburst over an hour ago. Velvet Remedy was in the room looking over our provisions.
Look up.
Calamity was refilling our canteens from Silverhoof's water purifier. I had finished my packing and had been staring aimlessly. My curious gaze had eventually fallen on the memory orb sitting enthroned under the picture of Applejack, mayor of the Ministry of... I realized I didn't really know which ministry of Luna's government Applejack had been in
Oh
charge
god,
of.
what were they again?
I just had enough clues to make a few
Armament? I
educated
think it's
guesses.
Ministry of Armament for Applejack.
Go ahead. Steelhooves encouraged. Hasn't been viewed in a long, long time. Some pony else should remember. I regarded first the Steel Ranger, then the orb. I had wondered why any pony other than a unicorn would be keeping one, since only unicorns could access the memory stored within.
That sucks.
It made no sense, I realized, unless
That
that
really
pony was
sucks.
keeping it so that it could be shared, or safekeeping it. But even safekeeping it was just the same as throwing it away if no pony ever witnessed what was kept inside. I nodded, respectful of what I was being offered, then leaned forward, pointing my horn towards the sphere and touching it with my magic. My world fell away. I was harnessed to something. We were standing off stage, concealed in darkness by a heavy curtain. Applejack stood next to me, staring out at the dark stone stage, the podium with microphones and speakers, the mumbling throng filling the auditorium in front of it, the huge brass MWT logo on the wall behind it. I, or at least the pony whose memory I was riding in, only had eyes for her. She looked nervous, not to mention uncomfortable in her formal business dress. I can't do this. I felt myself speak, heard the words coming from my mouth. You'll be fine. The voice was deep and strong, like Steelhooves, but not nearly so gravelly.
Well,
they hate
put
me.
it together,
I've
man.
already been
Well, I think she already
started
put it
putting all my
together.
hose into the ministry, instead of just letting them do what they wanted. But bringing in Twilight's ponies... From her tone, that apparently had not gone over well at all. I wrapped a foreleg around her neck, allowing me to glimpse the apple green color of my coat, and nuzzled her gently, a sensation that I found quite pleasant. And after today, they'll all understand it, and they'll admire you for it. I, or more precisely the pony I was riding, leaned close and whispered into her ear. Now go on out there and make history, or I'll be forced to spank you. Oh,
Kinky.
Goddess Celestia.
Wow.
The orange pony blushed and gave her encourager a look that I would have paid almost anything to have Mare give me. Later, lover boy. She smiled, at least more cheerful now, and strode out before the crowd. The pony I was riding watched her stride, his eyes straying repeatedly to her.
This brings up a very important question. So, again, I might have brought it up in videos before, when the memory orbs first became a thing, but our personalities, who we are, is made up by our memories. So if memory orbs take the memories of other people and implant them in your head when you view them, if you view enough of them, do you start to become that person? Like, you feel their emotions, you have their thoughts, you have everything. So if you view enough of them, do the personalities become mixed? If, like, Little Pip keeps viewing memory orb after memory orb, will she slowly become a just chimera of different personalities and such? It's a very interesting thought, you know? It'd be very interesting. Because that's something that I'm learning how to GM. So something like that, an idea like that, is something I just latch onto because I want to explore it. I want to see where something like that would go. If, like, Little Pip just kept viewing more and more and start, like, multiple personality disorder almost, except she only has one personality. It's just that all these memories of these different people are becoming a mixed mess. It'll be very interesting.
Blanks.
I wonder, is that possible? Can that happen?
As much as I couldn't blame him, it was making me feel distinctly uncomfortable. This was an odd memory to be sharing. Then I noticed that she had a holster strapped to one leg, mostly hidden beneath her formal attire. The ivory handle flashed 3 red apples as she walked. The reception was not the respectful and admiring silence which Fluttershy received. But Applejack stood up straight at the podium, cleared her throat, and spoke slowly and clearly. Now listen up. I know y'all been a bit sore about having ponies from the Ministry of Arcane Sciences working with us. I know y'all are dedicated to improving Equestria the Earth Pony way, and magic kinda flies in the face of all of that. But there are some things that are just too important to let stubborn pride get in the way asking for help.
I'm starting to see something there.
I know. And I want y'all to know how proud I am to be standing here today, able to finally show you the fruits of your efforts. Most of you don't know what you've been working on. was important to keep things. The next word did not seem to come naturally to her. Compartmentalized. To keep this project out of zebra hooves. What y'all have accomplished in just 1 year. Ain't been a bunch of Earth ponies to do more work in less time than when we built Appaloosa. Until this point, her words were undercut by resentful.
To be honest, Appaloosa is not that impressive. If you want like achievements, I would not use Appaloosa. It is not very impressive.
Rumbles of whispered opinion. Now her voice dropped into a tone both somber and deadly serious. The ponies in the audience began to hush, not for her, but out of reverence of what she spoke of. When I was young, my big brother Macintosh was always there for me. He was my closest kin, and he never let me down. And when Equestria needed him, he didn't let us down either. He served heroically in our army, fighting for our way of life for these 3 years. And then, when we needed him most, he made the ultimate sacrifice. When that zebra bullet punched through my brother's armor and pierced his heart, it broke my heart too. I could see Applejack's eyes start to tear. Her voice trembled, but she pressed on. The room was now dead silent except for her. 1 year ago, we buried my brother, Big Macintosh. And that day, I swore an oath that no one other pony would die needlessly in battle. They're risking their lives out there for us. We owe them better. And now, starting today, we give them better. My memory escort started walking onto the stage. I felt the ropes trailing from me lift and pull taut, the harness digging into my flesh. I felt the resistance and heard the wheels of the wagon I was pulling begin to move. Ponies of the Ministry of Technology, I give it to y'all, the Steel Ranger. Moments later, the memory collapsed, the last sight lingering in my mind as my own world reasserted itself. I glanced back at the display wagon and the magical power armor.
The introduction of power armor.
I looked to Steelhooves, sensing I now understood him far more than I had moments ago. The light gray of the clouds had descended, shrouding the landscape in fog.
We need to talk about that. Being upset about the Ministry of Magic and improving Equestria the Earth Pony way. That sounds bad. Because the fact that they were upset, the fact that they wanted to do it the Earth Pony way, that's interesting. I know what I want to say. It's not coming easy though. The Earth Pony way implies similar to what the Pegasi did by just breaking away immediately as things went bad. How they weren't fully integrated into Equestria because they're cloud cities and stuff that separate a majority of their population from the rest of them. It also sounds kind of like the Earth Ponies have a thing going on where they have their own way. Like, it's been 1,000 years, but they have their... Game of Thrones. It's like the North with the old way, and the old gods is separated from the rest of Westeros, where things have become more mixed and sort of... I'm trying to come up with a way to explain it. So it sounds like, with 1,000 fucking years, the princesses have not mixed the three races. I mean, the Pegasi were separate on their cloud cities, and they quite easily abandoned. I mean, I understand if they had to do it, they had to do it. But I gave ways on how it's possible for Earth ponies and unicorns to be on Pegasi cloud cities, and why the Pegasi didn't have to abandon. Cloud walking is a fucking thing. Just enchant some pendants and take some unicorns with you up above the clouds. But no, because they weren't integrated. The Earth Pony way kind of makes it sound like the Earth Ponies also weren't integrated with the unicorns and the Pegasi. This is really throwing some bad stuff, implications. It's throwing some bad implications on Celestia, because it sounds like she never really tried to integrate the three cultures. Well, this is easier for me. It makes it sound like she never tried to integrate the Pegasi, because, I mean, despite cloud walking being a spell and enchanting objects being a spell, you never see any unicorns or Earth ponies up in Cloudsdale. They don't even go visit. Even though they could probably just pick up a pendant of cloud walking. You never see Canalot. The capital is mostly a unicorn place. The only Earth pony we ever really see are in low menial jobs. Appaloosa is almost is entirely Earth Pony. I don't recall seeing a single unicorn or Pegasi in Appaloosa. Not one. The only place we actually see intermingle is Ponyville, and I think Manhattan. Maybe. I'm starting to recall more Earth Ponies there than Pegasi. And maybe only a couple unicorns. Yeah, anyways, if what I think is true, and the three races in this have not mingled together enough, or, you know, that they're still largely separated by traditions, culture, ideology, if they are still largely separated by those three, only unified by support for the equestrian crown, then Celestia is a terrible fucking ruler. It's not enough to be at peace. A nation is... This is the problem with me. My vocabulary is not big enough for this. I'm trying to think of the words. A nation has to be bound by more than that. The people need... She should have gotten more integration. I bitched about the Pegasi not being integrated enough with Equestria that the majority of their race just up and left the second it got... Here's the thing. I don't blame them for doing the whole cloud thing. I don't. They were nukes flying. What I do blame is the fact that there wasn't a way to bring that they just abandoned Earth Ponies and unicorns. Because, again, cloud walking! Hello! And this makes it sound like the Earth Ponies didn't want to work with the unicorns, even though they're on the same side and they're trying to achieve the same goal. Instead, they want to do it the Earth Pony way. That makes it... Okay, saying the Earth Pony way reminds me of the Iron Price from Game of Thrones. What the fuck is the Iron Price? What is the Earth Pony way? Well, okay, I know what both of them are, but I mean, like, what does it mean in the modern world? Well, Balon Greyjoy, who the hell... Well, Applejack... I don't know. Like, it just sounds like Celestia never did anything that would... Cultural festivals, holidays, things that could bind cultures and traditions and ideologies together to create a stronger, more unified nation. Then again, it's possible that Applejack just got the hardliners. They always exist. You know, there's always the hardliners. So I'll give Applejack the benefit of the doubt. I'll give Celestia the benefit of the doubt. She's my favorite alicorn, so I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Still, that's a lot of Earth Ponies that are upset about not getting to do it the Earth Pony way. Or save Equestria the Earth Pony way. It doesn't feel right, you know?
All around us, the rubble of blast-flattened and age-demolished buildings created shadows and obstacles. I regularly had to check my EFS compass to make sure we were headed in the right direction still. Even Calamity was grounded to avoid losing us. We were entering the outskirts of Manhattan now. I felt a pang of disappointment that I couldn't properly see the city. Calamity and Velvet Remedy had taken the lead. Quick attention to my eyes-forward sparkle was as much to spot hostile creatures as it was to navigate. Another red spot flared up in front of us and just off to the left. Calamity, 7 o'clock. Calamity nodded and crouched down, sneaking forward. The fog wrapped about him, concealing him from my vision, but my EFS compass marked his position. Velvet hung back a little, but kept him locked in her sight. Her horn glowing faintly, she prepared to throw a shield around the orange-maned Pegasus in a black Desperado hat. A moment later, a single twin shot rang out. Calamity returned. Giant rad hog. One of the mutated pig-like creatures I had encountered under the train bridge. I do hope you're not planning to cook and eat that. Velvet Remedy
Delicious.
disparagingly.
Pork is
I can't
delicious.
imagine all the meat you've been eating did any good over the last few days. I shot her a look that she probably couldn't see and said nothing. You see, now that's why y'all are a vegetarian, Calamity laughed. You ain't never had bacon. Trust me, If
Yeah!
meant only
Calamity's
fruit, sauce, and
man!
grasses, then the existence of bacon would be the proof in the pie that the world was just cruel and evil. Oh, great. Now I had to try eating rat hog. A few moments later, we had a cook fire started, and Calamity was explaining to me just which parts of the rat hog were the most delicious. Velvet Remedy had chosen to join Steelhooves in ignoring the two of us. Her silky voice sliced through the air as she told Steelhooves, "Now, if we get into battle, I do hope you have the good sense to let Calamity and Little Pip handle it. No offense, I really am thanking you for your coming to our rescue, but I came closer to dying from all your explosions than from the alicorns." I hadn't thought of it that way, but Velvet Remedy had a strong point. Steelhooves' weapons were all extremely excessive, and while that was very good for fighting manticores or alicorns,
That was still a little bitchy, but reasonable enough that I can't get pissed off. You passed this time, Velvet Remedy.
at a good distance, it could be
Hey, he did save their
close quarters
lives.
or enclosed spaces.
So, a little nicer?
I'd have to convince Steelhooves to keep himself in reserve until he was needed. I wasn't sure how that would go over with the Steel Ranger. Traveling with others and having to take precautions to keep his own companions alive was not, I suspected, something Steelhooves had been required to deal with for a very long time. "Old song," Calamity was saying to Velvet Remedy as the two of them took the lead once again. "If I sang a little bit of it, badly probably, could you magic up some music to go with it?" "Well," Velvet said uncertainly, "I could certainly try."
I don't know, guys.
Then, with a
You might be
reassuring
traveling
smile,
to enemy territory.
"And your voice is quite good. If you took some singing lessons, you'd be very pleasant to listen to." I rolled my eyes. "That's my Velvet." "No, that's Calamity's Velvet," I reasserted to myself, and then wiped the whole thought clean. Velvet Remedy was Velvet's Velvet, and would be until she said otherwise. And even then, only so long as she allowed it. Calamity was going to be Velvet's Calamity, and I was not going to be a jealous third wing. Steelhooves was bringing up the rear. I dropped back, choosing to engage him in discourse rather than dwell on the two ponies in front of me. Trying to strike up a conversation, I told him I had a question about the memory I'd seen. "What question?" His voice suggested that there was a great many questions he expected I might have, and that most of them were not really my business. "The Ministry of Technology. Why MWT?" When the unseen pony spoke, I could hear a touch of relief in his voice. "Officially, it was the Ministry of Wartime Technologies, but Applejack hated that name. She was always the first to point out that the technological innovations that MWT championed and subsidized benefited all of Equestria, not just the war effort." I nodded, listening intently. It was a subject that Steelhooves had some warmth for, but a small flash of green in the sky above us distracted my gaze. I looked up, but saw nothing. I turned to ask Steelhooves if he had seen anything, but he was continuing to speak about Applejack's ministry.
Oh boy, you got him started.
Would have diverted his attention at this point. "Under the ministry's guidance and support, dozens of innovative technology industries blossomed across Equestria, and existing ones became a lot more powerful, their products becoming a part of every pony's daily life. Companies like Ironshod, 4 Stars, Equestrian Robotics, and even Stapletech." He turned his helmeted gaze down towards my pitbuck. "So why use a name focused on war? It should have been the Ministry of Technology."
Right on.
I heard music. Not Velvet Remedy or Calamity. Patriotic gala music whispering out of the mist. I stopped, turning in place until the little ball of light appeared.
It's not the Enclave who has those. Right on.
"Every pony hold up, please. I want to check on something." "Alone?" Steelhooves questioned. "Yes," I nodded. "It's okay, I'll be right back." "She do this a lot," I heard him ask my companions as I slipped off into the mist, following the sound. "Do what?" Calamity snickered. "Wander off? Break travel to explore random ruins?" "All the time." I was approaching a building.
Yep.
Half of it was a huge...
That's it. Okay, we are at the 30-minute time limit. Yeah, about one more video before we're finished with this chapter. I don't like the implications that... Actually, I love the implications that the three races were not as unified together in Equestria as it seems. I guess I can understand that. You have 1,000 years of peace. Why would you want to... It could be that if that's the case, if the three tribes were not as bonded together as it would seem when you look at it. I could understand that in the context of 1,000 years of peace. And, 1,000 years of peace, nothing happened. Why would Celestia feel the need to further bond and mix the three tribes and their traditions when there was no need? It came back to bite her. If that's the case, it certainly came back to bite them. I could just feel it. I could feel it. But that's all for this time. See you guys later. Have a nice night.